What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we've got our Week 14 NFL game picks, outright versus the spread, along with our locks of the week. So make sure to tune in. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. And let us hear it in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We will do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get right into it. And before looking at these breakdowns, I do want to highlight OddsJam once again because it continues to be the place that I use for all of my NFL betting research. Whether honestly it's the NFL or any other sport out there, OddsJam has it all. Because when you do your line shopping, your sports book comparisons, and just trying to get the best odds out there, this is the place to do it. And whether you're a beginner or an expert, also take advantage of OddsJam's betting tools, like their positive EV tool, which shows you line discrepancies so you know you get the best odds, or their arbitrage tool so you get equal and opposite bets for a risk-free return. Link is in the description, so make sure to check them out. But with that being said, let's kick off these breakdowns on Sunday with the Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs. Divisional clash here. The Raiders 6-6 after barely losing to Washington. The Chiefs 8-4 after beating the Broncos. And, I think this is a game where on paper, the Chiefs are probably going to be the easy pick outright. I tend to go that way as well. The Raiders obviously fell flat to a Washington team that I think is pretty average, maybe even below average. They're at 500, the Raiders are. But honestly, I think they're a pretty similar comp to Washington. The Raiders can be an average to below average team that once in a while will surprise some opponents and get a nice victory. But at the end of the day, I think that they have some deficiencies. And the fact that Darren Waller didn't play last week, if he does this week, he'll be less than 100%. Kenyon Drake is out, so it's going to be pretty much the Josh Jacobs show at the running back position. Has me a little bit worried, especially with this game being in Kansas City. That is a tough environment. Now, I'm not saying this game is going to be a blowout or anything like that. I could actually see it kind of being back and forth for a while. That Chiefs defense doesn't scare me. But at the end of the day, I tend to go with the Chiefs here, who do have, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then Patrick Mahomes. I think that's going to be the X factor here. I think he has a little bit more upside, more consistency than Derek Carr. So I give the slight edge to the Chiefs. But, to me, here, the spread is what's more interesting because while I do like the Chiefs outright, on the spread, I tend to go with the Raiders here. Again, these are two opponents that know each other very well. I think it could be a higher scoring affair. The Chiefs defense, again, it's been an issue all season long. And last week, I said it for the Chiefs and the Broncos. That was a game that if it wasn't for some inopportune turnovers from the Broncos, the Chiefs probably have some issues keeping that game a lot closer than what it eventually ended up being. So I think, again, unless we see some really bad turnovers here from the Raiders and the defense for the Chiefs capitalizing, I think they can cover the spread. It's at -10 for the Chiefs. Seems a little bit too high, so give me the Raiders there. Then Saints at the New York Jets. The Saints 5-7 after losing to the Cowboys. The Jets 3-9 after losing to the Eagles. And right now for the Saints, it's going to be the Taysom Hill show yet again for the second week in a row. Also for them, big addition, Alvin Kamara is back. But honestly, I don't think it matters who plays running back for the Saints, whether it's Kamara, whether it's Mark Ingram. I think they still beat the Jets, and the big reason why is because what Taysom Hill can do with his legs. I'm a little bit worried about the rushing attack of the Saints, namely how involved Alvin Kamara will be with Taysom Hill under center. I mean, for God's sakes, in his first start of the season, he had over 100 rushing yards last week. I'm not saying that that's going to be the case every game, but the main point being is Alvin Kamara needs to be the focal point of that offense, and I'm not sure that Taysom Hill at the quarterback position is going to be able to capitalize on that at the highest ability, but we'll see. The fact of the matter is the Jets are the type of opponent where that won't matter all too much against, because I look at the Saints offensive line, I like it. I look at the Saints defense, I like it. I look at the Jets offense, rookie quarterback, injuries at the wide receiver position, injury to Michael Carter, a bad defense, and honestly, there's not a lot to like. I think this game could potentially turn into a blowout. I like the Saints unless Taysom Hill, that is, absolutely implodes with multiple turnovers. I think the Saints can potentially run away in this one. Give me the Saints outright, the spread plus 5.5 for the Jets. I don't think it's high enough. Saints there as well. Moving on, Falcons at the Panthers. Both these teams 5-7, divisional clash here. Played once already. Now, I think, again, this series can be split. I think these two teams, though, are very similar, probably both below average teams. Maybe have one decent performance throughout the year, can keep games close from time to time, but more often than not versus better competition, they kind of get blown out. And it starts at the quarterback position, just bad turnovers, and then it kind of snowballs from there. Matt Ryan's capable of that. Cam Newton is capable of that. I look at the weapons here. For the Falcons, obviously Kyle Pitts, Russell Gage, Cordero Patterson, maybe a little bit of Mike Davis. For the Panthers, no Christian McCaffrey. That is a big loss. But you've still got DJ Moore. You've still got Robbie Anderson, Chuba Hubbard, Amir Abdullah. Doesn't matter. Then obviously Cam Newton with what he can do on the ground as well. I look at this game being in Carolina, maybe slight advantage to the Panthers, but more so than anything, I think the Panthers defense will be the X factor here. I wouldn't be shocked if this game goes either way. I wouldn't. That's why I think it's a pretty good game to hedge your bets on. I do like the Panthers outright. Again, I do think it's a coin flip, but what I really like the most here is taking the Falcons on the spread. The Panthers are at -2.5. So if you can get the Falcons at like +3.5, +4, tease that spread in that direction, that would be my way to bet this game. Afterwards, Ravens at the Browns. Another divisional clash. The Ravens 8-4 after losing to the Steelers. Barely. The Browns 6-6. And this is a game that's a little bit confusing to me. The Browns are actually favored at -3. Now, okay, it's a divisional clash. It's in Cleveland. The Ravens didn't exactly play all that well versus the Steelers. And, they've kind of struggled offensively as of late. But, okay, look at the other side of the equation. It's the Browns with Baker Mayfield, who has just flat out, let's just say it, not been good this year, calling into question his future with Cleveland. Now, again, you could blame it on the injury or whatever you want to do, maybe the lack of wide receiver stability or the fact that they have such a focus on the rushing attack. Now, you do have Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, but let's not forget the Ravens. You got Lamar Jackson, a huge X factor. Devonta Freeman's been playing pretty well. As far as pass catchers go, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, those have been the two most consistent guys for the Ravens. Guys like Sammy Watkins, Rashad Bateman, they're going to be here and there. But even with that, I like what the Ravens have going for them more so than the Browns. I look at the X factors in this game. To me, there's one for the Ravens in Lamar Jackson, and then a second one with their special teams. I do have a lot of faith in Justin Tucker here, and I think if it comes down to it in a close game, which, I think this can be maybe a little bit lower scoring, I'm going to go with the team that I think has those X factors going for them. To me, that's the Ravens. So give me the Baltimore Ravens to win outright. I said the Browns are favored by -3, so I actually really like the Ravens on the spread as well there, obviously. Then we go to the Seahawks at the Houston Texans. And this is going to be one of the more straightforward games of the week. Now, the big news for Houston is that it's going to be the Davis Mills show yet again. So the Seahawks 4-8 after beating the 49ers. Big win for them there. The Texans 2-10 after getting shut out by the Colts. And honestly, right now, there's really not much good to say about the Houston Texans. They're going back to Mills, but we've seen that show before. It's not great with Mills either. I think the saving grace is the fact that the Seahawks defense is god-awful, so maybe Mills can look somewhat decent. But at the end of the day, even Russell Wilson with a bad finger, I'll take that over what the Houston Texans have going for them. Give me the Seattle Seahawks to win this game. The Houston Texans are at +8.5. Again, I think the Seahawks, as bad as they have been, the fact that their record is 4-8, all the question marks they have about what they're going to do in the offseason, I still think they're the better team, and I think they can cover this number. I think they can win by double digits. Texans right now, plain and simple, playing like one of the worst teams in the NFL. Next up, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans. The Jaguars 2-10 after losing to the Rams. The Titans 8-4. And, speaking of one of the worst teams in the NFL, the Jaguars are also in that conversation. Now, whether it's because Trevor Lawrence hasn't played up to his potential, I think a case can more so be made of not having the right coach in place in Urban Meyer. To me, you shouldn't be taking out your best offensive weapon in James Robinson just because he has one fumble. and even your quarterback says that. But hey, what do I know? Urban Meyer, maybe he's a genius, and that's why the Jaguars are 2-10. But in any case, I think here the Titans, even though they aren't as good as their record suggests in 8-4, they're better than the Jaguars because Ryan Tannehill versus Trevor Lawrence. Right now, as bad as Ryan Tannehill has played, you have to trust him more than Trevor Lawrence. You have to trust the coaching of the Tennessee Titans more than that of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the Titans here can go ahead and hand off the football to their duo of running backs, even without Derrick Henry. Which defense do you trust more? Probably the Tennessee Titans. I think that they could potentially capitalize on some turnovers here. Give me the Titans to win this game. Where I think it's actually kind of interesting is on the spread. The Titans are at -8.5. Like I said before, I don't think they're as good as their record indicates. Their defense ain't anything special really either. So I think this is going to be a closer call than some people might think. Ultimately, I will go with the Titans on the spread just because, again, I have zero faith in the Jacksonville Jaguars. To me, they are one of the worst teams in the NFL. But don't be shocked is all I'm saying if the spread somehow doesn't hit if you're betting the Titans. Afterwards, we go to the Dallas Cowboys at the Washington football team. Another divisional clash. Dallas 8-4 after beating the Saints. Washington 6-6 after beating the Raiders. And, this is going to be an interesting game. These NFC East divisional clashes always are. It's in Washington. I do have more faith in this Dallas offense, no question about it. But, it's been an offense that from time to time struggles. Dak Prescott, I feel like the last couple of weeks, he's either been really hot or just really cold. A lot of turnovers, a lot of missed opportunities. And the Cowboys kind of just get blown out. I think back to the Denver Broncos game. I think back to the Kansas City Chiefs game. And, that kind of sticks out. Washington has been getting better as of late, but I still don't believe in Taylor Heineke. Okay, you're having some success versus other teams that are below average in the NFL, and it's not like you're playing lights out. You're still relying a lot on Antonio Gibson, on the rushers. Logan Thomas is now out. Terry McLaurin isn't being utilized the way he should be. I think that's always a concern. I have to go with the Dallas Cowboys here. Washington is at +4.5. That's a little bit intriguing, but ultimately I will go with the Dallas Cowboys. To me, they have way too many weapons offensively. You look at CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott. I like their offensive line. I like Dak Prescott more so than I do Heineke. I do think it will be a close game. I do want to say that, but ultimately, I will go with the Dallas Cowboys outright and on the spread. Then Lions at the Broncos. Congratulations, Detroit. You are no longer winless. 1-10-1 after beating the Vikings. The Broncos 6-6 after losing to the Chiefs. Unfortunately, I think this winning streak, well, it's actually not a winning streak yet. I think more so the Lions won't go on a winning streak, I should say. I think it took so much out of them last week to beat the Vikings, to will themselves to that win. Now having to go to Denver to play, a Broncos team that I think is an average football team. They have some nice moments. And, they have the weapons, whether it's Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams. Teddy Bridgewater is a smart game-managing quarterback. He's more often than not, he's not going to be the reason why you lose the game. And with that being the case, I got to go with the Denver Broncos here. I don't think it's going to be anything special. I don't think it's going to be sexy. I don't think it's going to be pretty. But ultimately, I think the Broncos win this game. DeAndre Swift, still a question mark for the Lions. TJ Hawkinson, a question mark as well. Who else is left? That's my question for the Detroit Lions. Your top two offensive playmakers potentially out here. That is not a good situation for the Detroit Lions. Give me the Denver Broncos. They're at -10. And I'll tell you what, if Swift and Hawkinson don't play in this game, I would go with the Denver Broncos on the spread, even with them being at -10. Moving on, we've got the New York Giants at the LA Chargers. The Giants 4-8. And the Chargers 7-5. The Chargers, huge win versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The Giants losing to the Miami Dolphins without Daniel Jones. And again, expected to be without Daniel Jones in this game as well. So with that being the case, I don't trust anybody at the quarterback position here for the New York Giants. I'd almost even say that when they did have Daniel Jones, Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney, both still not 100% healthy. Saquon Barkley not getting utilized, like in years prior, but that makes sense considering the type of injury he's coming back from and the fact that he's had injuries this year as well. I really like the Chargers here. Yes, they're a team that's prone to some inconsistencies and some letdowns, but I just don't see it happening here versus the Giants without Daniel Jones. I would be shocked if the Chargers lose this game. I really like them outright. Now, again, they do tend to keep games closer than they should be. The spread is at -9.5 for the Chargers. But again, I just don't see the offensive firepower here for the Giants without Daniel Jones, and even with him, I think the Chargers defense can have a pretty good outing here. Give me the Chargers to cover that number. Then we go to the San Francisco 49ers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The 49ers 6-6 after losing to the Seahawks. The Bengals 7-5 after losing to the Chargers. So for the 49ers, the big issue for them is that they're going to be without Elijah Mitchell, that running back room a bit banged up. Deebo Samuel potentially going to return, though. So for the most part, I think they'll be okay offensively. Question is here, I think, who do you have more faith in? Jimmy Garoppolo, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon expected to play. So it's a situation where I think it's going to be a close game, one of the closer games of the week. I don't necessarily expect a blowout one way or the other. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals here, though. I'm going to go with the home team. I think without Elijah Mitchell, the 49ers offensively, especially on the ground, just don't have that same, upside. And I think that could be an issue for them, putting it all on the shoulders of Jimmy Garoppolo. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals here. I think Joe Mixon is going to have a pretty successful outing. I think obviously Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, all those guys are dangerous in every single play. So give me the Cincinnati Bengals here to win this matchup. I think it'll be close. I like them outright. On the spread, they're at +1.5. So they're actually underdogs. But with the fact that Elijah Mitchell is out, I will go with the Cincinnati Bengals here. Then Buffalo Bills at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bills 7-5 after losing to the Patriots. The Bucs 9-3 after beating the Falcons. This game is in Tampa Bay. I think that both these teams are talented. Last week versus the Patriots, that was a game where just the conditions were absolutely god-awful in. I could have seen both teams winning. Ultimately, it went the way of the New England Patriots. So this is obviously going to be a very different environment in Tampa Bay. Won't be the same type of conditions. But even with that being the case, I look at Josh Allen and the guys he's throwing to. Then I look at Tom Brady, and he's got Mike Evans. He's got Chris Godwin, Gronk, Leonard Fournette. He's got an actual rushing attack. The Bucs defense is pretty good. I think it's going to be all on the shoulders of Josh Allen here. And I do think the Bills can keep pace for a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think the Bucs will prevail. I think the better team will win. And to me, that is the Tampa Bay Bucs. I think they're better offensively. I think they're better defensively. And unless Josh Allen is absolutely lights out perfect, and then on the other side, Tom Brady struggles mightily with turnovers, I think that's the only way the Bucs lose. But that's just way too many things breaking the way of the Bills. Give me Tampa Bay here to win this game. They're at -3. I don't think that number is big enough. The Bucs here to win outright and on the spread. Then Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers. This game in Green Bay. The Packers put it on the Bears the first time they played. Aaron Rodgers let the entire world know he owns Chicago. And that's not a lie. The Bears 4-8 coming off a loss versus the Cardinals. They are expected to get Justin Fields back here, but folks, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. The Green Bay Packers are the better team. Aaron Rodgers is leaps and bounds better than whoever the Bears put out at quarterback. Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones back healthy. I think, Matt Nagy is an issue for the Bears in terms of potential offensive play calling situations. I think the Packers defense will, take advantage of a rookie quarterback. I think Justin Fields is going to make several mistakes, and I think the Packers beat the Bears yet again. This is one of, in my opinion, the easier picks of the week. Give me the Packers all day long. They're at minus 11.5. That's a pretty big number. But honestly, right now, the Bears, they're just, I think, pretty much almost done. So give me the Packers here. It's a big number, but unless something happens with Aaron Rodgers, they should be able to cover it. The Bears are absolutely banged up defensively, offensively, serious question marks. Justin Fields going to make some mistakes. Give me the Packers to win outright and on the spread. And then finally, we have got the LA Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. Huge clash here for this division in the NFC West. The Rams 8-4 after beating the Jags. The Cardinals 10-2 after beating the Bears. And I say it all the time. With these games in the NFC West, it happened last week with the Seahawks and the 49ers. It's happened before. You throw the record out the window. Doesn't matter that the Cardinals have the best record in the NFL. The Rams aren't far behind. And even if they were 4 games worse, whatever the case might be, don't discount the underdogs in these matchups. The Rams are the underdogs. They're at +3. The Cardinals are at -3 at home. I understand it. DeAndre Hopkins back. Kyler Murray back. Had a lot of success offensively. Chase Edmonds also expected to return. While the LA Rams, is Darrell Henderson going to be at 100%? I would say it doesn't really matter all too much. Sony Michel is still there. Give me the LA Rams here. I'm going to go with the upset. I've been saying it all season long that these upsets happen in the NFC West. On paper, these two teams are very close, folks. Matthew Stafford, Kyler Murray. Okay, Kyler Murray gets the edge rushing the football, but then you look at the weapons that the Rams have. Cooper Kupp, Odell, Van Jefferson, Darrell Henderson, Sony Michel. I say advantage Rams there. Defensively, the Rams have more guys, more weapons. It matters whether they're able to put it together. The Cardinals have also had some pretty good performances defensively. It's a home game for the Cardinals, so I understand why they're favored, but do not be shocked here if the Rams pull this game off. If you don't want to pick one team either way on the money line, I would kind of, get that number for the Rams to like +4, +5, and then I'd hammer them on the spread. But with that, we wrap up our Week 14 NFL game picks. Now let's look at our locks of the week, starting with the New Orleans Saints versus the Jets. To me, even with Taysom Hill under center, it doesn't matter. They've got a good enough offensive line, a good enough defensive line. They're the better overall team. Give me the New Orleans Saints here to win this game. Then Seattle Seahawks versus the Houston Texans. I don't believe in Davis Mills, even though the Seahawks right now kind of in shambles. I'm going with Seattle here. I think Russell Wilson, even with one of his hands chopped off, is better than what the Houston Texans have going for them. Then moving on, we go to the LA Chargers versus the New York Giants. Without Daniel Jones, I have even less faith in this New York offense. Okay, maybe the Chargers won't cover the spread, but I have a hard time seeing how they don't win this game outright. And then Green Bay Packers versus the Chicago Bears in Green Bay. Bears banged up defensively. Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears like we all know. Give me Aaron Rodgers. Give me Mr. Discount Double Check to own the Bears for a second time this season. Packers all the way. But with that, we wrap up our Week 14 NFL game picks outright versus the spread, along with our locks of the week. And as always, let us hear it in the comment section. Did you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We'll do our best to answer them all. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.